You know that one friend who turned 45 and somehow still looks like they're 34? Same birthday year as you, same number of candles on the cake, but their skin, their energy, even the way they get up off the couch, feels like it belongs to someone else's decade. Meanwhile, you feel like your body skipped ahead and started billing you for years you haven't even lived yet. So here's the strange part. Your birth certificate is not the number your body is actually paying attention to. Somewhere inside your cells, there is a completely different clock running, one built from chemical marks on your DNA, the shrinking tips of your chromosomes, and quiet inflammation simmering under the surface. Does your body actually know how old you are, or is it keeping its own private countdown?
Two people can share the exact same birth year and somehow end up with completely different bodies. The calendar never changes. It ticks forward the same way for everyone.
But something underneath that calendar seems to be moving at its own pace, faster for some, slower for others. So what is actually being counted down here if it isn't birthdays? That answer lives inside a hidden mechanism most people never think to look for. The aging clock does not start with a birthday. It starts with something much smaller, chemical marks that get added to your DNA every single time your cells go through stress or repair. Picture your DNA as a long, coiled instruction manual. Methylation marks are like tiny sticky notes attached to different pages of that manual. Every sticky note changes how a page gets read, whether a gene gets turned up or turned down. Over years, thousands of these sticky notes pile up in patterns. Scientists can actually read those patterns and calculate what is called an epigenetic age, a number that sometimes matches your birth certificate and sometimes does not come close. Two people born the exact same year can have sticky notes arranged in completely different patterns because the notes are being written by daily experience, not by a calendar. Now, chemical marks are slow. There is a much faster signal running underneath all of this, and it behaves more like a low simmer than a slow accumulation. This is chronic low-grade inflammation, sometimes called inflamaging. Think of inflammation like a smoke alarm in your body. A short burst is useful. It means your immune system noticed a problem and responded, but some people's alarm never fully switches off. It just keeps beeping quietly in the background, day after day. That constant low beeping is exhausting for the body to listen to. It uses up resources, it pulls attention away from repair jobs elsewhere, and over time, that background noise becomes one of the loudest inputs your biological clock listens to. This is part of why one 45-year-old can feel achy and foggy while another feels sharp, even without any obvious illness. Their internal alarm systems are simply running at different volumes. If inflammation is the fast-moving signal, there is a much slower one ticking away at the very tips of your chromosomes. These tips are called telomeres, and you can think of them like the plastic caps on the end of a shoelace. Their job is to protect the delicate genetic material inside from fraying. Every time a cell divides, those caps get a little shorter. Early in life, there is plenty of length to spare, but across years of cell division, the caps wear thinner. When they get too short, that cell has a much harder time doing its job cleanly. This is not something that happens because of one rough week. It happens gradually, cell division after cell division, which is exactly why telomere length reflects years of pattern, not a single bad day. None of this is your body malfunctioning. It is your body doing precisely the job it was built to do. For almost all of human history, there was no calendar counting birthdays. There was only the body, tracking whether it had enough energy, whether an injury had healed, whether food was scarce, whether a threat was nearby. Survival depended on the body accurately sensing its own condition in real time, not on knowing what number the current year was. So instead of counting days, the body evolved to count wear and count repair, using chemical signals like methylation and inflammation as its bookkeeping system. When you feel like your body is aging unevenly compared to your actual years, this bookkeeping is the reason. It has never once cared about your birthday. It has always been reading your condition. One place this bookkeeping becomes physically noticeable is inside your cell's tiny power plants, called mitochondria. Their job is converting the food you eat into usable energy. In younger cells, this conversion tends to run efficiently. Over time, as wear accumulates, mitochondria can lose some of that efficiency. The result is not dramatic. It shows up quietly, as an afternoon slump, or a feeling of needing more effort to do the same task you used to do without thinking. That drained feeling many people chalk up to just getting older is often mitochondrial efficiency reporting back to the same clock we have been describing. You do not need a lab coat to catch a glimpse of this clock in action. Something as simple as your grip strength offers a rough physical window into it. Researchers have found that how firmly someone can grip correlates with broader markers of biological aging. It is not about being an athlete. It is about how well muscle tissue, nerve signaling, and cellular repair are working together in that single moment your hand closes around something. Your heart is reporting to this same system too. resting heart rate, and the more subtle measure called heart rate variability shift as biological wear changes. A heart that recovers quickly and adapts easily between beats is often a sign the underlying repair systems are functioning smoothly. A heart that feels less flexible in its rhythm can be reflecting the same accumulated wear showing up elsewhere. And then there is skin, maybe the most visible messenger of all. A single rough night of poor sleep might leave skin looking a little dull the next morning. That is the acute version. But years of repeated poor sleep, repeated stress, repeated inflammation, gradually break down collagen and reduce elasticity in a much more permanent way. That contrast between a temporary dull morning and years of visible change is the entire aging clock in miniature, the difference between one bad night and 1,000 of them, quietly stacking on top of each other. Here is the part that actually changes things. This clock is not a life sentence handed to you at birth. It has a natural off switch, and that switch does not respond to effort or willpower. It responds to rhythm. Your body is constantly listening for predictability because predictability tells it when to power down repair crews and send them to work. Inflammation calms more easily when it knows what time night is coming. Cellular repair schedules itself around a signal it can count on. Give the body that steady rhythm, and it stops treating every day like an emergency to manage on the fly. So if you want one simple move that speaks directly to this clock, here it is. Pick one consistent sleep time and one consistent wake time, and hold both steady for the next 7 days. Not 7 hours here and 5 there. Not sleeping in on weekends and dragging yourself up at 6 on weekdays. The same window, night after night. This single act of consistency is one of the strongest everyday signals tied to steadier inflammation and steadier repair patterns. It costs nothing, requires no equipment, and does not ask you to overhaul your life. It simply asks your body to stop guessing. And here is something worth sitting with. None of this means your body has been working against you. It means your body has been paying very close attention this entire time, quietly trying to keep up with whatever you have been giving it. The ache in the knees, the sluggish mornings, the skin that looks a little more tired than it used to, none of that is punishment. It is documentation. Your cells have simply been recording the conditions you handed them. That is oddly good news, because documentation can change when the conditions change. Do not expect a transformation by day 3. That is not how this clock moves. Instead, just notice small things. Maybe mornings feel a touch less foggy by midweek. Maybe the walk up the stairs feels slightly less like a negotiation. Maybe your energy in the late afternoon does not crash quite as hard as it usually does. These are not victories to announce. They are quiet observations, small notes in the same ledger your body has been keeping all along. And remember the 2 people we started with, both born the same year, one biologically younger, one biologically older, with nothing separating them except what their daily habits had been quietly telling their cells. That gap was never about luck or genetics doing all the work. It was built one input at a time, one night of sleep at a time, one stretch of unmanaged stress or steady rhythm at a time. Your birth certificate will say the exact same number tomorrow morning, no matter what you choose tonight. It always will. But that number was never the one your body was actually reading. It never has been. So think back to that friend who seemed to skip decades and the feeling of being billed for years you have not even lived yet. Neither of those things came from the calendar. They came from cells quietly logging conditions, night after night, choice after choice. Your birth certificate never changes, but your cells are reading new signals every single day, and tonight's bedtime is one small sentence in the story your biological clock is writing about you. So right now, before anything else pulls your attention away, pick a bedtime, an actual time, not a rough idea. Pick a wake time to match it, and commit to repeating that exact pair of times for the next 6 nights. That is the entire reset. No tracking apps required, no elaborate routine, just one steady rhythm your body can finally stop guessing about. Your cells are listening tonight. What you give them next is entirely up to you.